Okay, so our recording is in progress. So for the ones that's joining in on the recording, welcome to today's session where we'll be talking about the wealth gap. We'll be talking about the lottery versus investing, and then we'll be talking about your money in 2022. And so it's very important that we're going to go ahead and just dive right in here. So let me just go ahead here and just kind of share our screen, and based off some of the topics that we're going to discuss. And for the ones that's just now joining in, and also too on Facebook, we ask that this is going to be a session to where we're going to dialogue and want your input for its discussion and dialoguing. But these are topics today, what we are discussing, the wealth gap. I shared earlier this week the difference between the African-American race and the Caucasian race, and the big gap difference that it is. So we want to talk about that. We want to talk about why is it so deep. We're going to give you a few details on that. And we're going to talk about lottery versus investing. Guys, do you realize there is more people that play the lottery than invest? That I saw that this week and I'm like, wait, what? Like, what? So I want to discuss this. I want to say why do we do this, right? And then I want to discuss your money in 2022. All right. So these are the things that we're going to cover down this morning and pretty much just talk about. But before we go that, I want to share some stats here with you when it comes to the wealth gap, right? Check this out, guys. In the U.S., the typical white household median, right, has 8 times more wealth than the typical black household, all right? And so unfortunately, right, this is controlling education. And so, for example, if you look at this, right, the typical white household, man, guys, this right here is crazy. The typical white household with a college education has 6 times more wealth than the typical black household with a college education. All right. Now, here's what's the most shocking out of all this right here. Here is the most shocking. All right. So the typical black household with a college education has roughly the same net worth, about $72,000, as a typical white household with no high school education. Guys, when I read this early this week, this right here, man, I sit back, man, I say, man, this is crazy. Now, this is the main reason why me and my financial literacy and why I teach about financial education. This is one of the main reasons why we teach, and we teach these principles, and we just come to you because these are the things that we ain't learned in school and college. We can go and, man, look, I speak to people, man, that have Harvard law degrees, Harvard medical degrees, and from a financial education standpoint, just don't have it, right? So, and that's the education, Department of Education fault. But guys, check this out. So African Americans, we go to school, get a education, and our net worth, that's your assets minus your liabilities, is the same as the Caucasians with no high school education. If you guys don't see a problem with that, we got a long ways to go. And so we need to change that. And so as we honor Martin Luther King this week, right, here's a strong statement that he had. And his statement says the economic problem is probably the most serious problem confronting the Black American community. You know, and he said, I might say the serious problem confronting is poor people generally. So we got to change our culture, man. We got to change the way we think. And we're about to open up in dialogue. So I want you, as I go over these stats right here, and as I just gave you this information, I want you to, you know, in a few minutes here, we want to dialogue this and unpack this and say, why is this, right? And so decades has passed and we're still fighting the same issue. All right. So when I go back over here to this PowerPoint slide, here's some more staggering information on this, right? So if you look at the median net worth, race, and education level, and you will look at no high school, right? And so you will look at, from a no high school standpoint, you got the Caucasian generation where their net worth, right, their assets minus liabilities is $72,000. You look at the African Americans, it's $7,000. All right. You go right here from a high school standpoint, just with high school, you got $120,000 versus $15,000 on the African American. You got a college degree, right? This is the crazy aspect. $397,000 as far as their net worth with the Caucasian. You see a Hispanic at $113,000. So the Hispanic population has you know, surpassed the African American culture. Now, here's the problem with African American culture, right? The one thing that we will lead in these particular sectors is consumer spending. When I say consumer spending, you can guarantee as far as cars, jewelry, and clothes, we're going to be leading in those sectors. But when it comes to median net worth, your assets, we're lagging in that because we don't own anything. And if we do own it, it's a liability and not an asset. So, man, look, I always talk during these sessions, but I want to unpack this and talk about this. Why? Let's open up to this. Why is this so? Why is our net worth down? And you can unmute. You can unmute. And then let's just go live here. Come on, guys. I want you to talk to me today. So no one's going to talk to me. Let's go.
Sure, it's Shanae.
Hey, Shanae, how's it going?
Good morning.
Good.
I think one thing is we're not educated enough about it. And when we do find out about it, we still don't fully understand what assets mean and what liabilities mean. No one's talking to us, no one's telling us, so we're not concerned about it. We don't feel like sometimes that the goal is attainable. Sometimes we feel like that's only for the rich, and we shouldn't. We can't even start because we don't have enough to even start with. But if we start small, you build your way up. So those are just some nuggets, but there's plenty more.
Man, Shanae, those are great points because I like what you first said, and the fact that, oftentimes when it does click, it's when you were around about a grandma age, right? And the grandma said, well, baby, I wish I would have known now what I know now 20 years ago. And oftentimes it's like, we want to avoid that. But Shanae, those are very, very good points. Oftentimes we're not educated, so we don't know where to start. We don't know how to do it. So if you don't know how to do it, you feel intimidated, so you just don't do it. All right. Anybody else? Let's kind of unpack this a little more. But Shanae, thank you for that input.
Hey, Sharon, I think a lot of it is like for me, coming out of Gary, Indiana, I was very fortunate to have a grandfather, when it was thunderstorming outside and, you have to cut all the lights out and, and be still because God was doing his work. But during that time, what he did was he always talked with me and he always said, be somebody, and to encourage me. But a lot of times when you're coming out of places, and let me tell you, a lot of my classmates are doing very well. We were very fortunate to have the push that a lot of other people didn't get. But what I'm finding with a lot of other people is a sense of hopelessness when you're raised in areas where you don't see anybody else doing anything. You think this is all that you're going to be, all that you're going to be able to obtain, all that you're going to be able to do. And then after so many years, you develop a sense of hopelessness, whereas, I just need a job to pay my bills. I just need to get by. And you don't have that forward thinking of saying that, hey, you know what? Why is it that when I go outside of our neighborhood, I see people who have this and I see people who have that? But a lot of times, if we don't get outside of our neighborhood, if we don't get outside of our comfort zone, if we don't get outside of the neighborhoods that I grew up in, then you don't see that there's actually a way to actually do better, and you just do just as much as possibly your parents did. I think the other point with another reason would be is that our confidence in the system, when you see so many injustices, to think that anything is going to be fair and that you're going to be able to get and obtain anything more.
Wow, that's very deep. Backgrounds. I like what you said, Ms. Jackson, as far as how we grew up. Oftentimes that could limit us. And I got a segment of a short little segment I'm going to show you of a deep video from a gentleman that's on social media that shared a quote from Denzel Washington talking about our actual backgrounds. And I saw that this morning. I said, well, I got to share this with the group. This is deep. But thank you, Ms. Jackson, for sharing that. Gary, Indiana. So you probably saw some things that was different from what other people saw from the South. But thank you for sharing that. Anybody else want to share as far as this information of the staggering numbers where you have Caucasians where their net worth with a no high school education is the same as an African American with an education? Let's unpack this more.
Sure, Win.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to share this. Back in the 60s, before integration, Blacks were entrepreneurs. They had businesses, and the businesses were within the community. They had dry cleaners, they had stores, alterations, you name it. That was really a priority in the Black community, was to become a business person. But with integration, it appears that we don't really have that same mindset. And also, before integration, Blacks owned property. My grandfather, my mother's father, he was a farmer. He owned 300 plus acres of land.
Wow.
Didn't really realize the value of the land. And so many of our Blacks sold their land to white landowners to move into town, to get out of the country. And so Blacks really didn't realize what they had and the value of what they had. In our community, we had a place that we call the Hill, where there was nothing but Black entrepreneurs. And we went to that one area. It's kind of like a shopping mall, really, that was owned by Blacks. You could go to that one area and buy pretty much anything you wanted. But you know what? The whites tore that building down, tore that place down where all those Black businesses were.
Yeah.
We didn't realize what we had. And so we kind of started out in the hole, really.
Yeah.
You know, we were inherited poverty, and it appears that we can't seem to get out of the hole because of we hadn't been taught financial literacy. My grandmother was very frugal. She could take a little bit and do a whole lot. She didn't really have a bank account, didn't have a high school education, but what she had, she knew how to manage it.
Absolutely.
So it's just a number of reasons, like you say, you know, and I think today, because many Blacks, you know, come out of poverty and didn't really have a whole lot. So now we're trying to play catch up. You know, I don't want my children to live like I live. And so we just spend, and not think about generational wealth.
Right. Hey, thank you for sharing that. And one of the things is, you know, that's my dad. One of the things is, you see this oftentimes, we'll go broke for our kids. We will spend our last dollar because we don't want to tell our kids no. But the thing is we won't grow rich for our kids because we don't know how to. And if we do, it's like, how do you get access to it? But I always like to say this here in this community, right? The money in this world, and it's not about the overall, it's not about money, but it's the resources, right? But the money has already been printed. We just gotta have to learn how to get to it, like get to these resources. And there's resources out there, and that's why what we're teaching how to actually obtain it. But we don't know how to do it. We don't know where to start. I got this one video I want to share with you. I saw it here on Instagram this morning. And man, it's a quote from Denzel Washington, but it's powerful because there's this gentleman that's actually speaking on this here. And I seen this here and I was like, wow, I got to share this here. So this guy here, his Instagram page is, this is my first time coming across him, this DP Too Nice. But I'm going to share this right here, this Denzel Washington quote here. Let me just make sure my sound is up. And this is very deep, guys. So let's listen to this here.
What's good? What's good? Let's talk about this quote by Denzel Washington. Also, if you feel this video, please share it with friends, family, your bros, your girls, whoever that might need to hear this. But he said, your own family will talk shit about you when you're in the process of breaking all their generational curses. This ain't for the weak. So why does this happen? Well, your family, friends, or whoever's in your circle does that because they've tried it or they were scared to do it, right? And they project their fears, insecurities, or their failures on you. Why are you doing that? because it didn't work for me. You can't do that. We ain't never seen nobody else do it. So that's why it happens. You can't listen to everybody else's experience and think it's going to be yours. They don't do it because they just don't want you to succeed. Yes, to a point, but they don't want you to do it because they couldn't do it. They didn't have that fight, that discipline, that mindset. That's why it happens. So you got to push that to the side. I don't care if it's your mama, your daddy, your brother. Remember, when people are projecting that on you, you got to block that out and go for what you want, not them. What's good? What's good? Let's.
All right. So wanted to share that, man. That's pretty deep. So oftentimes our family gets involved and gets in our mind, and oftentimes we can't get past our current stance because of what our family is thinking. And sometimes what our family is telling us, it gets in our mind and say, okay, we can't do it. But let's unpack that video. What are some thoughts, as far as even from a family standpoint, that hindering us from growing financially? Let's unpack this, guys. This is some good information. Very, very good information here. Kendrick, man, I see you online, man. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Shanae.
Okay. My story was, I remember when I was getting out of debt, and it was funny that the family, they would laugh at me, and but they were my biggest cheerleaders, but they would laugh at me because I was determined and disciplined, but they were proud of me at the same time. But I became not frugal, but more conservative, more, I thought about things. There was 2 weddings that I was supposed to be in. And after the first wedding, I said, I'm not being in any more weddings because I'm trying to get out of debt. And then my friend, she called and said, or texted me and said, I want you to be in my wedding. I said, I can't, because weddings cost a lot. But at that moment when I was going through getting out of debt, I said, I can't do everything that I want to. So you have to learn to say no. So even though your family may be in your ear, you have to keep pressing forward. And then when you get on the other side, your accomplishment is there and they're proud of you. So you got to prove them and show that it's possible and keep moving forward. And then when they get on the other side, then they may say, well, help me do what you're doing. So even though family is in the air, you got to just keep pressing forward, and sometimes let it be your motivation to prove them that it is possible.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Shanae. Family, oftentimes they're scared to take that leap. And when they're scared to take that leap, they're not pouring into you from a positive vibe. And then that pretty much could stop you from growing, stop you from opening up that business, from stop you from taking that step to the investment journey, or buying that real estate property or buying that house because your parents never did it. And so they're telling you, I just remember this here when Leslie, my wife, wanted to get a car, and her mom was telling her, in college, hey, you don't really need that car. Well, my wife, she grew up on welfare. Her mama didn't know how to buy a car. And so she was instilling that into Leslie, and Leslie said, okay, I'm going to buy this car anyways, because what you're telling me is not going to stop me. And so oftentimes that's what stops us, because basically if we haven't done it before, and this is these numbers here is the main problems, because exposure leads to expansion, and we don't expose our kids to what we're doing, well, then they're going to be facing the same thing what we're doing. It's going to be in that same cycle of poverty. So we want to avoid that. Anybody else want to share any thoughts on that video I just shared?
Hey,
I'd like to
Riley.
pick
This
it-
Kim. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to piggyback on what Shauna said with your family, and then how you have to be able to say no. I think somebody told me something that was really, really profound that I would like to share. He said, I no longer give, I only give if it's from my overflow. Because a lot of times when we do get to progress a little bit farther, and we are trying to break the generational curses and pull other family members, out and help, we tend to give from the bottom of our cup if we don't have anything at all. And so what I've learned to do now, just recently, because he just told me this and it just really stuck with me, is that I no longer give. I only give if I can give from my overflow. And so I think sometimes when we're trying to progress and move forward, we're still trying to help any and everybody, and we can't always do that. And so now I've gotten to the point where I'm only giving from my overflow. I'm no longer giving from the bottom of my cup.
Wow, that's pretty deep, because oftentimes when we do give, right, we expect for that to come back, and when it doesn't come back in the time that we want it, right? Christmas is not the same, or the holidays is not the same, because hey, look, you owe me this money. But the overflow, I love that, giving from the overflow as far as what you've been blessed with. Wow, that's powerful. Very, very powerful. Hey, Kendrick, I saw you was about to say something as well. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple of things. One, I think your father was spot on what he was saying previously, just a second ago. I once heard this, that most people are not poor, they just make poor decisions. And so since we don't have that financial literacy, sometimes that, well, not sometimes, that's detrimental to our community. Now, back to the video you just showed in regards to family. I stated this once before, within our community, we love our family, and that quote unquote black tax, where we feel like we're obligated to help one another. And sometimes our money is community money, family money. So if I'm doing something different that may take away from, contributing over here, I think that is frowned upon a little bit with family until they see the end goal. Because as you accumulate more wealth, they like, man, he did it right. And now I can even borrow more money or get a cosigner here or there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes, while you're going through the storm, it's the naysayers. But once you get to the other side, I think people are proud and encouraging at that point.
Man, absolutely, man. Those are good comments, man. Family could stop us, but man, you just have to realize your purpose as far as who you are. You can help some family members. Some family members, that's going to be an asset. Some family members, it's going to be a liability. And you got to realize that. If you don't realize that, they'll continue to be a liability. So thank you for sharing that, Kendrick. Community money, I like that too, right? Because they all think because you got it, right? We all got it. And oftentimes it's almost like the little hen, right? This is a simple, basic story. The little hen did all the work to bake the bread. And then when all the bread was actually made, then all the little friends want to come around and have the bread. That's the same concept these days, man. We got to work and what we want. And so, all right. Anybody else want to unpack this here based off the video or what I share here on the Media Network before we go to our next subject that's kind of surrounding this?
Sure one. This is
ahead.
Shanita. How are you? Can you hear me?
Hey, Shanita, how's it going?
Good. I'm sorry, it's a little bit of feedback. I'm driving, but I just wanted to say two things. I think it's to add to what everybody else said is you have to have the right mindset going in. And I think also that some of us as a culture, we lack the patience of, seeing something through. And I'll just share this short story with you. My business adventures that I've told you about with my sisters and everything.
Right.
And so one of my sisters, the first thing she said was, well, when do we get paid? And I'm like, it's not going to work like that. We have to put a little bit of work into this first. It's not like a regular job. We work 2 weeks and then we're going to get paid. It doesn't work like that. We got to do a little bit more, to see, get the fruit of our labor and stuff like that. So it was just like after, I kind of broke it down to her like that, you could kind of see since we've been having our meetings that she's been kind of pulling back from them, because she's not going to see that instant cash flow or whatever that, she's looking for. So I think we lack patience, to see our money work for us and to break those generational curses as far as family.
Shanita, you are hitting on our next topic, but look, that is key because we don't want to wait. We want it now. And in this microwave society that we live in, we want the investments now. So let me share this with Shanita, because you're heading to something here as far as with family and the patients, right? Because that's the problem with the African American community, as far as we don't know how to do it, and then when we figure out how to do it, we don't want to wait and for it to manifest into 3, 5 years, or 10 years. We want, as soon as we plant that seed, we want the seed then and there, right? So I want to go back here again to this young man. Hold on one sec here. I do apologize here. I want to go back here to this young man. I saw his videos this morning. I was like, this is pretty impactful. He touches on this, right? And this leads into our next subject as well, as far as playing the lottery versus investing. All right. Let me go back here and share my screen here. This guy here, hold on one sec here. This is a very strong message here. So let me just unpack this a little bit, right? So he's talking about this background right here. And he's talking about this tweet here by the Market Hustle. He said, his friend, how can I make money? And he says, invest $180 each week into a fund that earns an average of 10% per year for 25 years to get around $1 million. Well, the friend was like, nah, that takes too long. Shanita, that's what you really, like, your family is kind of suing on, your sisters, right? And then 25 years later, right? Then we want to figure out, well, how in the world did you do it, right? But watch this here. This guy here has some a good commentary on this.
A little Sunday motivation here, a little wisdom with it. As you see, the friend's asking, how can I make money? The other friend tells him, invest 100 a week, get 10% back, 25 years, you got $1 million. Other friend that asks, no, that takes too long. Then you're gonna go fast forward all the way through the time. You're gonna be asking that person that you told took too long, dang, how did you get that? Well, they told you. Everybody wants to get rich quick. Everybody wants to lose weight quick. Everybody want to get their followers up quick. Everybody want to get to the league quick. Remember, nothing great is going to happen fast. And if it happens fast, you're going to lose it fast, right? Just like when people win that lottery, they lose it fast because it happened fast, so they don't appreciate it. Stop trying to skip the process. This ain't only with money. Stop skipping the process. There's power in that process. There's beauty in the process. Enjoy the journey. Trust the journey. Do what you need to do. Good things take time, right? So don't think it's just gonna happen. Start now and you'll eventually be there. I promise you that. What's up, what's up?
All right, guys. So Shanita, you hitting right on what our next topic is, man. And that's the lottery versus investing here. But let's kind of unpack this here, right? So why is it that we want the bag now and not allow it to wait? I mean, of course, the whole patience deal, right? But why is that so? Is that because of we want what we want now? I don't understand that, because we're at a point where now and we're going to be talking about this in a few minutes, where the market is kind of tanking a little bit, right? People want to get out, but if you don't have a long-term perspective, this ain't really for you. But why, I want to unpack this. Why is there more people paying the lottery versus investing?
Sherwin, this is Kendrick again. I think people play the lottery versus investing because they only see it, oh, it's just $1 or it's just $2. Well, compound it, you do $1 a day, that's $356. So you could have took that and put it towards some, like you said, some fund or some investment that's going to give you a return in the long term.
Absolutely. Kendra, I think another thing too, right? With the lottery, right, is like, once we get it, right, it's something that's quick. But just as soon as we get it and how fast we get it, you spend it just as much because you don't necessarily have the discipline, right? And so oftentimes you will see these lotteries, guys that go broke out the couple of years, or you will see some of these athletes that, make good money in their 20s, but by late 20s, early 30s, they broke again because, of course, it's like it wasn't like a it's a progress or process for athletes per se, right? But the money is made, so quick because they're in their early ages. But it's like how I think when you look at it from, if you work hard and you can appreciate it more over time versus if it's something just handed to you, you don't really appreciate it. It's like a kid. I can take my kids to Target every single month, every day, and they won't appreciate it. But if I was to take a kid in Africa and I was to take them Target once a year, they would think the world of that one particular gift because, you know, it's something that you just got to really work for. But let's unpack this a little bit. Why do more people pay lottery than investing? Good. Thank you for that, though, Kendrick. Go ahead.
I think, Sharon, you know, of course, like you said, it's quick, but I think we also need to get back to a little bit of sociology. And let's think about it this way.
Mhm.
When you grow up in a neighborhood and the only time you see white people come to your neighborhood is if they're sharing, if it's the mortician or if it's somebody selling life insurance or what have you, and they're driving these nice cars and stuff like this. And then when you go to the suburbs, you see all these nice houses and stuff. And it's like when they get that money, it's almost like a catch up of all the things that they wish they had.
Mhm.
And so, yes, a lack of discipline, but now they can get the car that they see going down the street that they, you know, don't ever see themselves driving, wish they could drive, or get the house and stuff like this, you know, and live that lavish lifestyle. So I think a lot of times, especially when you're young and you don't realize what value actually is, that actually, to me, more important than money is the value of peace and mental health and all those things like that. But that's a whole nother subject. But, you know, when you get older, you start putting value on a lot of things. And when you're young and you don't come from anything and you see all these things that you wish you could have, now all of a sudden you got this money and it's like, okay, you know, I can get this, I can get that. And, you know, and even a lot of times I see people who, you know, my friends who have done well, you know, they have a whole lot of toys now because of all the things that they couldn't get before. So I think a lot of it, of course, yes, it's discipline, it's lack of education regarding financial responsibility, but there's a lot of sociology that goes into that too, of just trying to play catch up of all the things that you wish you had.
Absolutely, absolutely. Man, you know, so those are very good points here. I want to get a younger person perspective on this here because oftentimes our younger generation, they're definitely not patient. I mean, they're on social media and there's other people, you know, making $100,000 a year and they're flashing money. And oftentimes, you know, they're comparing their race against somebody else's race, but somebody else's race may have started 12 years earlier, but they feel like, okay, look, we need to be equally. And that's not necessarily the case. And so social media is a big hindrance as well, I think, on our African-American culture, because, you know, we try to get it fast and quick when oftentimes that's really not the formula solution from you know, generally that's going to really help you grow financially and create financial legacies for you and your family. So Derek, man, I see you're on. If you don't mind, man, I know you're one of the younger ones that's on here. Why do you think that's so, man? As far as with our younger generation wanting it now and really wanting to shine now versus the grind. What's your thoughts on that?
I suspect that, how can I put it? The immediacy of, I put it down to just the culture of things, the MTV culture. That's the best way I can put it. If you look at what you consume, the images that they consume all day is get the money quick, get the money fast. And how do you do that? It's usually a guy who's driving in a car, a nice vehicle, who has some very attractive ladies in the back, and you kind of get the sense that the dude is a drug dealer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's far more appealing than the guy who went to school for 12 years and got an additional advanced degree and then learned some things and then slowly build an empire the legitimate way.
Man, Derek, that's deep. Go ahead. I like that.
That's what it comes down to. I remember when I was a kid, you know, coming up, and I came up during the height of the Blood and Crips wars. You know, it was so bad I couldn't even wear anything with the color red or blue because I couldn't get mistaken for being with either way. So I had to wear colors like yellow, black. I couldn't wear purple because that was too close to blue. and all kind of and all kind of stuff, because you know you could have got in a situation depending upon the color you were wearing, and you see the guy on the corner, the street pharmacist, if you will. He's making, I did the math when I got to college. I did the math. The dude was probably making no more than about 40 a year when you take into account of all the illegal stuff he had to do to get the money, then who he had to pay off and everything. And sadly, the person's shelf life in that life wasn't that long at all, because he either got taken out or arrested. But as a kid, as a teenager, I saw that dude, he always had money. He always had cash money. And so the message that was endorsed to me was, okay, well, I got to get the money. I got to get it quick. I can't sit around here and put it in some CD with a 5% increase over X number of months a year. You know what I mean? I got to get the money fast. And the fast money was far more alluring than the steady, slow build.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow. Derek, man, those are some good points, man. Very good points, because oftentimes, right, that street pharmacist, right, he's what you call cash rich, because he got the money, but then he's actually asset poor, because when it comes to when he passed away, then you wonder, like, well, why his family got to have a GoFundMe, right? Because oftentimes that cash, right, that money, man, it don't really work for you. You can really just kind of pass it around. But when you have assets, right, assets is what outlives you, right? We look at appreciation houses, and we look at, investing over the long term. Those are things that would appreciate over time. So, no, thank you for that, though, Derek. From a younger perspective, those are some good thoughts, because that's what we see. And oftentimes, if we're not exposed to anything else, like I was mentioning a few minutes ago, that's all we know. But I got another also young guy on here as well that leads a big following on social media. And he has he teaches to the financial community, to the younger generation, as well as Cameron Canton. And so, Cameron, if you don't mind, man, let's get your thoughts and perspective as far as, why do we see as far as trying to get the bag now versus later? And then how does social media, from your regard and perspective, how does it have an impact on your generation?
So I would honestly say at the end of the day, it's one of those things where social media perpetuates an image. It puts on this, I could say, facade or this mentality like, oh yeah, I got it on, my life is better than yours, this, that, and the third. But it's not, and I wouldn't say all social media necessarily, but the people who grab the attention, I should say, of the younger generation make it look like, oh yeah, I was a rapper, this, that, and third, and so boom, I blew up. Or they make it look so appealing, so to speak, right? But I can honestly say I think with that, it causes us as young people not to be in tune with the process. I think that's the major thing for us, is we're not in tune with the process. We want to just boom, snap our fingers and make it happen, rather than allowing ourselves to go through that process of building wealth, of growing, and letting it compound, right? Even just that understanding in general. Like, I can just say that it's so funny. I had a conversation with my little brother, Clint. He's 15, and we were talking about it, and he was like, yeah, Cameron, so when I go to college, I know they said like I can get like scholarships and stuff like that, but what if I get extra scholarships? What would I do with that money? Do I just like spend it how I want to do it, or do I just, or do I like invest it? Like, how does that work? I know that you invest, so tell me more about that. And I thought about it, like, I guess for me, the perspective was, man, he's coming to me, asking me about this because he's seen that I've been doing this. He's been exposed to people around him who aren't just throwing their money at a new car, or just throwing their money at the glitz, the glam, the chains, and this, that, and the third. He's asking me this question because at the end of the day, he's clearly seen there's a difference. Like, yes, we're well, right? But at the end of the day, it's the asset rich instead of the cash rich, as you mentioned. So,
Hey, Cameron, let me ask you this
yeah.
question here.
Mhm.
So you are a recent college graduate, getting ready to graduate with your master's degree. And so, by going to school in Tallahassee, which is a big college town, man, so when you graduate, most people, man, automatically, most young kids want to make $100,000 a year, right? And then when they make $100,000 a year, then they realize, well, shoot, man, I'm on social media, and now this person, man, that, just graduated 2 years ahead of me just bought a house and now they married and now they got kids and now they done bought a BMW and so you see this whole just glamour life, right? And then oftentimes what hurts us is the mental health aspect where we feel like, well, I'm not on the same level as that particular person, and then we get into a depression state, or we do some things that try to go out and get a quick money and hustle. How big is that as far as with your group of the influence that you have? How big do you see that with the comparison, which we know is that's kind of like the thief of the joy?
You just said it right on the head. Comparison kills. Comparison kills. God has specifically designed a path for each and every single one of us. But a lot of times we're so focused on everybody else's path that we're stuck. We find ourselves paralyzed. We find ourselves crippled by oh man, he already got a house. Now I got to focus on getting a house. When no, you got to focus on getting, acquiring the income first to be able to even get that house in the first place, or getting your credit up and so on and so forth. But you're right. That does play a big role in the community that I pour into, for sure. I think that's a consistent thing. And one thing I know for me that I stress with them is focus. Focus on one thing at a time. I know it may seem tedious, it may seem daunting, but at the end of the day, you focus on one thing at a time and be a river instead of a flood. You'll find that focus will ultimately yield you greater gains. And I'm not even just talking money-wise. I'm just talking about every aspect of life. Like, I put my head down, I grind, and I got my undergrad degree. Now I put my head down again. I'm about to have my master's literally within the next couple of months. And it goes by quick. We think, again, going back to what I said earlier, that process. We think this process is so daunting. We think this process is quote unquote so long, and it's like, no, like you can do it. You just have to put your head down and focus and grind, and you'd be amazed at the yield and what comes out of that.
Right. Wow. Thank you for sharing that with us, man. That's pretty impactful when you speak about from a younger generation, because really, man, that's who really set the tone as far as our next life, as far as our kids and the way they're thinking. So this leads me into our next subject that I want to hit on, and this will be the last one. So we just talked about earlier with the whole wealth gap, and then we talked about now lottery versus investing. But now I want to hit up on, we talk about the different things as far as with our money, but I want to talk about your money in 2022. And right now we're seeing this right here. This is people starting to freak out, right? And so when they see this right here and they go and look at their retirement accounts, when they go and look at their stock accounts, and they go and see all this red in their accounts, right? And me teaching financial literacy, I have people just zooming to me and say, Sherwin, man, I'm losing money. Well, first of all, you're not losing money unless you actually withdraw from your account. But here's the problem. Most people, right, if they're not educated enough, once you sell your actual assets, right, your investments, and they're tanking, you actually lock in your loss. Now, I want to share this here with you really quick. Because guys, stay with me here. This is some good information, right? This is some good education, right? So you will see here, I'm gonna bring out 2 points here. And this is why I'm gonna tell you guys why long-term is important. I'm gonna focus right here in 2020 when the pandemic happened. In March of 2020, now overall, the year S&P 500, overall stock market was up 18% in 2020. But in March of 2020, when the pandemic first happened, March alone was down 30%. And then I want to touch right here on 2008, where it was down 37%. Now, I posted on the Facebook group a little bit early in the week, right? Some numbers, but I want to go and I want to share you guys. This is very important, right? I'm going to show you this one site that I use, and you guys can always use it. It's called Backtest Portfolio. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to use an example right here, right? I'm going to use these two examples. And guys, if we don't get nothing else from this call right here, this is what we're setting as far as the wealth gap. This is how we change things, right? The first thing I want to do is I want to take a person with $10,000 in March of 2020. So I'm gonna literally go right here. And guys, I'm gonna tell you, you ain't gonna find this nowhere else. Ain't anybody gonna sit here and break this down for you at the level that I'm about to do, all right? So we get ready to take a person right here that has $10,000 in March of 2020. And when we look at this here, right, we're gonna go right here and we're gonna put the US stock market, right? And we're gonna go up here and we're going to list right here. We're gonna say, we're gonna put 2020. Let me find 2020. All right. And then we're going to go right here and we're going to go month by month. And I'm going to take you right here and we're going to go March 2020. That's when the pandemic happened, March 2020 through the beginning of March through the end of March. And you're going to see right here what your what that $10,000, what it would have done in March from 1st of March to the end of March of 2020. We take this $10,000 right here. We didn't add any more money to this, right? And you invested this, or you had this into the S&P 500, what we call the U.S. stock market. I'm going to show you what that $10,000 would have been worth from March the 1st to the end of March. Let's check this out. So if I hit this analyze portfolios right here. All right. So your $10,000, right, from March the 1st through the end of March 2020, that balance would have been worth $8,622. All right. So you would have actually taken a loss here. All right. And the loss that you would have seen here from overall standpoint is this right here. You would have a literally, let me see here. Let me see if it shows us here. About a 13% loss, right? Or really it's like overall about 13%. All right. Now, let me share this here with you. If you take March 2020 and you take it up to where we at right about now, 22 January, right? Let me just show you here, right? This same $10,000, if you would have had in March 2020 and to now in 2022, let me show you what that same $10,000 will be worth today. This is why investing for the long term is important. You see that initial $10,000, right? Well, yeah, you kind of had a little loss there in March. And here's the problem. We don't really have the patience, what Shanita was talking about, right? But you see that final balance now, your $10,000 would have been worth $16,544. And that's if you would have put nothing else into your portfolio. So if you didn't invest in weekly, this number here or monthly or quarterly or annually, right? This number here will even be bigger. So this $10,000 here, right? If you see the growth on this here has grown literally 25% per year. So you're really looking at a 50% growth from this time frame. But guys, check this out. Let me take you back even further. All right. In 2008, this is what scares people about investing right here, right? So between your investing and you playing the lottery is you having a 50-50 chance, or not even a 50-50 chance, probably greater than that, like a 1 in a million chance, right? But when you look at investing, right, and you're investing in companies that you're actually using, and you know these companies are going to continue to grow, you're having in what we call a calculated educational investment into your future. But let's look at 37%. It was down in 2008. I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to go to the same website, and I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to put the year, right? Let me do the year, and I'm going to put this guy. This right here is what's most staggering. I'm going to take 2008, all right? 2008. And I'm from January 1st through the end of December. All right. This is how I come up with my numbers. You take the whole year 2008, the same $10,000, right? I'm going to show you what your $10,000 have been worth. So see here, your $10,000 now, just alone in 2008, would have been worth by the end of the year, been worth $6,296. This right here is what scares people about investing, because they see some losses and they freaking get scared, right? Excuse me for my language. I'm passionate about this subject right here, right? But I always, guys, you're going to always hear me say, you always got to have a long-term perspective, all right? Now, let me share this here with you. I'm going to go back up here, and I'm gonna take from 2008, and I'm gonna take the same $10,000 up until now, because if you invest for the long term is what's most important. Watch what this 2008 to 2022, right? The same $10,000. Watch how much it actually grows into. Staggering, right? Look at this here. That same $10,000, if you had invested nothing else more, would have been worth $42,000 today. Guys, let me just share this with you, right? This is 4 times than what has been worth here in 2008. And this is not adding any more money to this, right? So if you look at this right here, average over time, this is up 10% or 11% per year. Let me go and share this here with you really quick. Let's say, for instance, if we would have went here and we would have started making some contributions towards this, for instance, right? You take this contributor fixed amount. Let's say, for instance, we would have added $100 a month to this, right? I'm gonna go on the low end, $100 a month to this here. And from 2008 to 2022, watch this here. How it does not matter how much money you invest. It just matters about the discipline, right? It does matter how much you do invest if you want to really have a significant amount, but oftentimes you could just start with just a few dollars, right? Look at this $100 a month, see what it would actually done from $42,000 here, right? Look at this. Now from 42, guess what? Now this is $100,000 doing $100 a month. Guys, check this out. Here's why the wealth gap is where it is, where it's at now, right? Because we will go and spend $100 a month, right? We're going to spend the same $100 a month. Us as African Americans, we'll go spend that on clothes. We will go and spend that on liquor. We will go and spend that on jewelry. We will go and spend that on shoes. We will go and just spend that just on whatever, right? Just because, and not even knowing where the $100 went at per month. But what I try to seed into you is what this $100 a month, what it will actually do for you over time. This is what we call an asset that continues to grow. Now, it does matter what you invest. Let me say that, because if we go right here, instead of doing $100 a month, let's say, for instance, we're going to do $400 a month. That's a car note, right? Watch what this $400 a month does now when you do this on a monthly basis from 2008 to today. Watch this, how it grows, right? Now, this is $276,000, right? So my mindset is we got to change how we actually spend our money, right? Because the more and more we spend our money and we're going to be running up on a credit card. See, the banks want you to focus on credit cards, right? So you can go and spend more money and pay interest on it. Well, the banks, what they're not teaching you is teaching you how they operate. They take your money and they go and invest it. And that's what I'm trying to teach this community is for, is your money in 2022. You don't worry about what's going on. You don't worry about what's going on right here in the stock market, because you will see all this is red. But we have a problem because we're not patient. And oftentimes these indexes right here, if you look at every one of these right here, this is your top 30 companies in America in the Dow Jones index. This S&P 500 is your top 500 companies in America. Your NASDAQ index is your top, mainly technology stocks, right? But if you date all the way back to probably 1950, there's not any time that any of these have been down, like to the point where, like, from 1950 to now, like just down. All they continue to do is continue to just to grow over time. And so in particular, this S&P 500, this is the stock market, what it's measured upon, right? When I go right here and I show you this here, I share this here with you all the time, right? But if you date this back, this is your overall stock market. From 1900s to 2010s, what we just came out of, there's only been 2 decades where the market's been down. So while you're looking at your retirement accounts, while you're looking at your stock accounts, now is not the time to be panicking, because this is part of the process, right? Never change a long-term strategy due to a short-term consequence, right? Let me say that again, because this is my motto in these particular times. And I don't care if you're about to retire, because this market always, remember this, always comes back up and continue to grow over time. Never change a long-term strategy, right, due to a short-term consequence. When we see this here, that in the housing market, when I go back and I show you this right here, let me go back over here. When I share this here with you, right here, we had the Great Recession when the housing market was down. It was down 37%. 2009 January is where President Barack Obama came in and started changing different policies, right? The housing regulations and the Dodd-Frank Act, right? The GM, that the car dealerships that was failing in Detroit because of the Great Recession. And you will see all these years here where it's continued to went up and up and up. And then we get right here in 2018, and it had a small drop. In 2022, I'm predicting it's going to be a down year. But a down year is not a point to where you do not invest. A down year is a point to where you go and you invest, because when you look at these future years and where we're going to be at, right, that seed that you're planting is going to be your harvest. You do not make the money when you invest. You make your money when you invest, and you have it sitting over the long-term aspect. That's the problem with the wealth gap. We want the money now. We want the bag now. You don't get the bag now. You got to plant the seed and let it grow. And how you let it grow? You got to water it. If you don't water the seed, it won't grow. It won't grow into the tree. It won't grow into the bag that you want. We got to change this, guys. That's why I'm telling you now, you got to plant the seed, water it, be disciplined, and watch it grow. Never change a long-term strategy due to a short-term consequence. All right? That's very important. All right, I'm off my soapbox now. We're done. Any final comments before we close out? Hopefully I didn't stir anybody up. But I'm passionate about this. Any final thoughts before we close out? Okay, guys, this is it. I want to come to you, just talk about the wealth gap, just talk about lottery versus investing. Guys, continue to just be patient. This might be a year where we got to see some slow growth, but overall, we want to think of a long-term perspective. All right. So with that, guys, I hope you guys have a great weekend. And also, I want to share this here with you as well. Let me go right back here really quick over to my Instagram page. This Monday night, if you guys are not following me on Instagram, let me just share this here with you. Our new tax advocate, Laura, based out of Tampa, Florida, she's going to be with me live on Instagram Monday night at 7:00 p.m. All right. Let me just go and share my screen here. So she's going to be with us. I spoke with her yesterday. Look forward to partnering with her. This is Laura right here. Her and I are going to be live on Monday night on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, you can go right here to Let'sWin_financial and start following me. But we're going to be talking about creative wealth and empowering tax strategies to keep it going in your family. She's a CPA. Leslie, my wife, is a CPA as well. But the only thing about Leslie, she does corporate taxes and not necessarily personal taxes per se. So she does it for a lot of high net worth people in different businesses. Well, Laura, I'll partner with her. She does personal income taxes out of her firm in Tampa. And so she's going to be with us on Wednesday as well at noontime. So mark your calendar. Next Wednesday at noon, Laura's going to be with us and to be able to answer all of your tax questions. And then if you want to go further and continue to work with Laura, you can. But I want you guys to get to know her. She's going to be an advocate here for the Let's Win Financial community. So we're excited having Laura partner up with the Let's Win Financial community. All right. Okay, guys, continue to have a great weekend. And then we will be talking on Monday night. If you guys want to come and watch me on Instagram. And if not, we will be back on Wednesday at noontime with Laura. But you guys be well, be blessed. And for the ones that's not following me on Facebook, you can also go into the Let's Win Financial group and follow me there. Let me just share this here really quick. Guys, I am posting daily gems on the Let's Win Financial group. If you're not following this page, you are missing out, right? So let me just go right here. Let's Win Financial Group. If you're on this live now and you're not following Let's Win Financial Group, please go here, get these daily nuggets that I'm sharing, because these principles of what I want to give to you, I want you guys to be able to not miss out on this information. Here it is right here. Let's Win Financial Group, right? So if you're not in here, Let's Win Financial Group. Go in here now, right? It's live right now, but Let's Win Financial Group. Go right here. I'm showing you guys every day how to create those financial legacies for you and your family. Let's Win Financial Group. Okay. All right, guys. Be well, be blessed, and have a great weekend. All right, guys. Bye-bye.